The CW's primetime lineup is filled to the brim with the superheroes of the DC Universe.
Now, one group of podcasters takes to the airwaves to sift through the exciting and dynamic world of the CW's DC Universe.
Get ready to journey to the worlds of The Flash,
Black Lightning,
SuperGirl,
Arrow, and DC's Legends of Tomorrow.
From the creators of the Hangin with Web show,
it's the Just-Us Watchtower. Here's your host,
Kevin J Kessler.
Watchtower is online.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Just-Us Watchtower, where we are examining everything to do with the CW Network's DC Universe. So, folks, that means we are talking about SuperGirl. We're talking about The Flash, Black Lightning, Arrow, and DC's Legends of Tomorrow. My name is Kevin Kessler. I'm the host of this show, and I am pleased to bring to you once again another all-star panel of DC superfans that are here to analyze the crap out of this week's shows here in the Watchtower. So, folks, you've heard them on many episodes in the past. Pleased to welcome back one of my very best friends, the owner and president of the UWA Elite Professional Wrestling Federation in the state of New Jersey. Please welcome Mr. Dave Swan.
Hey, Kevin, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Swan. How are you?
I'm very, very good.
UWA Elite going well. In the off season now, I believe.
Yeah, we're in the off season right now, and right now, voting is open on UWAElite.com for the year-end awards.
Oh, I always love voting in those.
Yeah, so we're gearing up for the big year-end award dinner on December 30th.
I'll be in town for that.
Really?
Yeah, I'll be in town for that.
Nice. So I hope to see you there.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to be there. That's awesome. That's great, Swan. So yeah, everyone, if you know what's going on over there in the UWA Elite, vote on the awards. It's always a great time. And also coming to us this week from the Hangin with Web show is the wonderful and talented Sage Ia, who picked up my slack last week and hosted the show. Thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. That was fun. We had a good time. We missed you, though. You can have it back. Fun, yes.
Yeah. Folks, so we are talking about Supergirl Season 4, Episode 8, entitled Bunker Hill. We're going to be talking about The Flash, Season 5, Episode 8, What's Past is Prologue. We're talking about Black Lightning, Book of Rebellion, Chapter 1, Exodus. We are talking about Arrow, Season 7, Episode 8, Unmasked, and DC's Legends of Tomorrow, Season 4, Episode 7, Hell No, Dolly. So if you've not seen any of those episodes, spoiler alert, first and foremost. So we're going to be spoiling it. This is a spoiler-filled review. If you've not seen them yet, hit pause, go watch 5 hours of television, and then come back. That's what I did today. So, Supergirl, Season 4, Episode 8, Bunker Hill. This episode is one of the episodes in the CWDC universe every year that is directed by the one and only Kevin Smith, Dave Swan.
Yes, it is, and I always look forward to that.
He doesn't usually put any Easter eggs into Supergirl to show that it's him, though. Well, except for, his daughter the one time.
No, and, I mean, normally, to be fair, that's done by the writers and stuff like that, like the Jason Mewes cameo on Flash.
Or the Jay and Silent Bob cameo on Flash was my favorite by far.
Yes.
That was awesome.
Just full-blown Jay and Silent Bob were there.
Yeah, I mean, I worship at the mantle that is all things Kevin Smith. So, I love Kevin, Kevin Kessler and I are both Jersey boys, just like Kevin Smith. So all of his movies, have spoken to us on a slightly different level.
Absolutely.
Kevin Smith is the reason why I got into filmmaking, and I'm a big fan. He's a big inspiration to me, and I was happy to see his name in the credits again this week.
Yeah, he's the reason why I got into podcasting. So he's definitely a very inspirational figure in both of our lives.
Yep.
So, Swan, let's start off with you this week, since you've already talked a bit about Kevin Smith. What did you think about this episode, Bunker Hill?
I mean, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought it was a solid episode. I think Supergirl has been going pretty strong this season.
Yeah, I agree.
I know you weren't a big fan of Supergirl last season, so how do you feel about Supergirl this season versus last season?
You know what? I think it's found like the middle ground in which it straddles the line between being too political and being just political enough. I think that it's kind of found that sweet spot. We're not talking about bump stocks anymore. You know, I think the Nathan Petrelli, talking about, like, that kind of thing, like, that character last year just was not clicking with me. I forget it wasn't Maxwell Lord. What was it? Morgan Edge? Yeah, that was the one that wasn't clicking with me. But this season, I think it's been pretty strong. I've been enjoying the storyline. I like Agent Liberty. So I guess we're gonna have to see where it goes. I really enjoyed the Manchester Black character up to now.
Yes, me too.
I like the idea of him being like a British Punisher. And like, do you feel like, and this is to both of you, do you guys feel like you root for Manchester Black a little bit?
Absolutely.
Right? Like when he's holding the gun to Agent Liberty, I'm just like, kill Davis Bloom! Kill the Davis Bloom!
Yeah.
But, here's one thing. Go ahead, Swan.
We went into, Manchester Black a lot on last week's episode when you weren't here. Mm-hmm. And I was talking about how important of a character I think he is because he represents the extremists on the other side of the political spectrum.
Yes, I made a note about that today, for this episode as well, because I think he actually calls himself the intolerant left.
Yes. Yeah, he does.
I think that was a really great move on their part.
Yeah, I think it's very important if your main antagonists for the season are going to be these blown up extreme versions of the political right, I feel like having a character like this to kind of balance the scales a little bit is super important. And I love Manchester Black as a character from the comics and everything, so I'm a big fan of him being on this show.
Do you think that we've seen the last of him this season?
No.
Oh, I certainly hope not.
So I'm going to hold off on talking about the epilogue as of this point. But Swan, do you have any other points you'd like to make about this episode in general?
No, I mean, like I said, I thought it was a very solid episode. I thought that the action in the episode was very good.
Yeah, there were some good action sequences in there. I did enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, I was just very happy with this week's episode.
Sage, what were your thoughts on this week's episode?
I enjoyed Brainy tremendously much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wasn't he great? I love when he fights. Like, I'm sure you guys discussed it last week, when the way he fights with, like, physics.
Yes, the slow motion classical music fight scenes and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I love Brainy. I've said it before. I enjoyed Wynn a lot, but
Brainy is an upgrade in every. Yeah, Brainy's an upgrade in every conceivable way from Wynn, and I liked Wynn.
He's so much better. I loved when he came in into Kara's, and he was so full of confidence and excitement, and then zoop, right to the floor. Mm-hmm. You know, gotta keep him level. Nope, absolutely no pun intended there.
So where do you think, to both of you, where do you think things are going with Supergirl leaving the DEO now? Do you think that the rest of our main cast is going to follow her out the door? Or where do you think things are going to go?
I think they're going to follow her out the door because I think President Tron is going to take more of a pro-human stance, because it's going to become such a popular movement.
Oh, he made me so upset. I was like, oh, please don't ask that question. And for a moment, I actually thought she was gonna, and I'm like, there's no way. There's no way she wouldn't. And she just panned that room, and everybody's looking at her like, really? You're going to tell everybody who you are?
Yeah. President Tron has, kind of hit this level where, he's flat out said he doesn't care about the morality of the situation. He only cares about his poll numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I know he has an actual name, but he's Bruce Boxleiter, so I'm calling him President Tron.
Exactly. Yeah.
But my thing is Supergirl actually an employee of the DEO? Like, does she receive a paycheck? He called her a government employee. And I'm like, I don't think Supergirl's got, like, the free dental and health and, like, is pulling in a paycheck every week.
No, she gets that from Catco.
Exactly. So she's not really an employee. At best, she's a volunteer. She's a deputized volunteer of the government. But also, the whole concept of, like, Supergirl being quote-unquote fired from the DEO, she can nothing changes, really. Superman acts with complete autonomy.
What are they going to do? Are they going to bring in that
different
vigilante viewpoint now for Supergirl if she still continues to help out? Because she knows she's going to.
Well, no, and I don't think they should, because Superman acts with complete autonomy at all times. Like, Superman has never been employed by a government agency. Unless, I mean, maybe in like a one-off comic somewhere, but, you know, Superman is always kind of his own entity, so Supergirl should also be allowed to be her own entity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the DEO work. I mean, the CW shows have a formula that runs across all of them. So, I mean, I think the DEO works as your way to have your support team and everything without just having another vigilante, you know, group running around. You know, it gave it like a sanctioned way for the team to operate as opposed to Team Flash or Team Arrow that are out doing their own thing.
So
and
go ahead.
I think by the end of the season, I think that they'll be, you know, she'll be back at the DEO with everybody, but I think, you know, I'm curious to see where it goes. I'm curious to see how far Alex is going to tolerate this before she up and quits also.
Yeah, I agree with you. The one other thing I wanted to touch on in this episode was Nia. So it's a big episode for Nia Null. Obviously. Now, you know, they made a big whole hoopla about Nia and superhero. And I was like applauding that. But now we find out she's an alien, and apparently she's a biologically female alien because she said like, oh, the women of my species have this like thing where we can like sometimes dream the future. So I'm like, wait, so are you trans? Are you MTF trans, or are you a biologically female alien? Like, I got very confused here. I know the actress herself is trans.
Yes. I mean, at the end of the day, wherever it goes story-wise, and I don't know where it's going to go, it doesn't change the fact that it is a trans-identifying actress playing a superhero on a show. Which,
yes, is huge, but she also made it a point to tell Jimmy that she's trans.
Yes.
On the show, in canon. So now I'm just kind of wondering where that goes. Like, I actually got really angry at that, because I was just like, you know, don't say that you're representing a marginalized group of people and then take it away.
That's true, unless they incorporate
I think it's too early to say one way or the other where exactly they're...
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I think one of the coolest visuals in this episode was Supergirl lifting the factory because she's covered in the element.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That was pretty neat. I mean, physics-wise, probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but like just the visual of it was really stunning, and I very much enjoyed it. Now, here's a real quick question before we go to commercial. Do you guys think that we are, like, was this them tying up the Agent Liberty arc, or do you think, like, to make room for Lex, or do you think he will rise again?
No, I don't. I think Agent Liberty and Manchester Black will both be back in the second half of the season. I think Lex is going to emerge kind of as, like, a supporting character at first, before he becomes, like, the big bad.
Right. Well, yeah, I agree with you on that. So, you know what? Let's leave it at that, because Lex Luthor can take us into the epilogue when we come back, because we all know he's going to be on the show next week in the Elseworlds crossover. So we're going to hear from our great sponsors, and then we're going to be back with more of the Watchtower right after this.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
From some of today's best-selling award-winning authors comes 22 page-turning tales, Cursed Lands.
Cursed Lands will lead you through one doomed world after another in a haunting dystopian urban fantasy.
Join the courageous as they battle for survival across worlds where fae, vampires, angels, witches, and more roam freely.
Cursed Lands is coming soon on Apple Books, Kobo, and Nook.
Pre-order your copy for just 99 cents today.
It's Germany, 1938. Charlotte is a 15-year-old girl living in the Jewish quarter. George lives in the city proper, and enamored by Charlotte's charm and grace when she wanders into his cobbler shop, George decides right then and there that he is going to marry her. Follow along as this unlikely couple struggles to stay one step ahead of the Gestapo and their dramatic escape from Nazi Germany. Good Things Always Happen in Springtime, from author Joanne Fisher, on Amazon.com today.
And now, back to your hosts, Kevin J. Kessler.
Welcome back to the Watchtower, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for sticking with us through the commercial break. We are going to be talking about this epilogue that was shared between Supergirl, The Flash, and Arrow this week. But before that, I wanted to just get the general rating for this Supergirl episode. So I'm going to say right off the bat, I rated it a 6 out of 10. Swan, what did you think?
I'm going to go a little higher. I'm going to go with a 7.5 out of 10.
All right. Sage, what did you give it?
I'm at a solid 7.
Okay, I guess it was, you know what, the whole thing with Nia and the trans thing, I probably had it at about a 7.5, and it dropped it almost like a full 1.5 for me, like just that discrepancy in my mind. So, Swan, we shared the same epilogue among 3 shows leading into Elseworlds. What were your feelings on this?
Okay, well, first of all, I gotta correct you. Lex is not in Elseworlds.
He's not. Oh, I thought he was cast specifically for it.
No. Next week is episode 9 of Supergirl, technically, and he doesn't debut till episode 15.
Oh, all right. Well, then, egg on my face.
Yeah.
The yoke's on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so like you said, we got the same epilogue at the end of all the shows that are going into the crossover next week. So at the end of Flash, Arrow, and Supergirl, they all had the same ending, which took us to Earth 90, which was basically Cameo City.
Yes. Now, I mean, obviously the most obvious one was the 90s Flash.
Yeah. I mean, basically you see a confrontation between the 90s Flash and
the Monitor.
The Monitor.
Who looks perfect, by the way.
Yes, he does. But before you get over to 90s Flash, it pans over a sea of dead superheroes, including, you get Vibe in there, you get Hawk Girl, I believe. You get a ton of them, but the big one for me was the Smallville Green Arrow.
Yep, I noticed that. I noticed that it was the Smallville Green Arrow costume on the ground.
Yeah. So, I was also the Ray from last year's crossover. You see his broken helmet on the ground a lot, but
yeah, you also saw Stargirl in there as well.
Yes, Stargirl also. And I'll tell you what, they keep sprinkling these little Smallville references in these shows,
right?
And in general pop culture. And I mean, I'm really hoping that we get some kind of a reunion or a crossover or something on these shows one of these days.
That would be utterly amazing. I would love that. Like, do you think that we're going to get the Smallville Green Arrow in this crossover, or do you think that was just a little throwaway for the epilogue there?
I think it was just a throwaway for the epilogue because Justin Hartley is such a big star right now that if he was in this episode, they would be touting that on everything.
True. Very true.
I mean, he's the star of This Is Us, and that is such a monster hit that if he was coming over to do a cameo, they would definitely be advertising the hell out of that. So, I mean, I think we just got the costume as a little bit of fan service, which I appreciate. I'll take any little morsels of Smallville that they want to throw at us. I'll eat that up and, appreciate it.
Absolutely. I feel like if they're going to do a Smallville kind of crossover thing, I think they're going to wait until they see what's going on with this potential Superman pilot that they have.
Agreed, because that would be the show to do it on.
Right, because you could do like an arc with various different, like you could do an arc where like that Clark meets like Smallville Clark and like Dean Cain, like that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
you could throw Brandon Routh in there too if you really wanted to.
I wouldn't, but
well, the crossover was shot on location from the Kent farm from Smallville.
Yes, I did see that.
So maybe we'll see a lot more little things.
They've reused the Kent farm, and people forget that Queen Manor was Luthor Manor.
Yes. Yep.
It was both Luthor Manor and the X Mansion.
Mm-hmm. There was also another little Easter egg that they released that wasn't in the the epilogue. They released about 100 photos from the crossover, and one of which is of Batwoman holding the Dark Knight Rises Bane mask.
Oh, interesting.
Which I thought was another cool little reference. So I have a feeling next week's Elseworld is going to be Easter egg, fan service central.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It's
We've
gonna
already
be
seen
fun.
the bat signal in the trailer and stuff, so
yeah.
We're going to Gotham. Sage, what were you saying?
I think it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to because they're switching. Kara is the only one who knows that they have switched.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Kara's the only one that recognizes the
exactly. She knows
Probably
that they've
because she's from
switched
another
bodies.
universe.
Yes. So that is that puts her in a very unique position, and I think she is just going to have a million laughs over that and be incredibly entertained, and so will we.
My other thing with this is when you look at the fact that we have the monitor now, and with the monitor comes the other monitors, that means we will eventually get the anti-monitor.
Yes.
Which I'm sure that's the crisis that we're building to in 2024. Which, I'm praying the show holds on. So, all right, so let's move on to The Flash. The Flash Season 5, Episode 8 was past as prologue. I'm going to say it right out front. I loved this episode. This was a return to form for The Flash. I thought this episode was fantastic in a way this show hasn't been in like 2 or 3 years. Anybody else? Swan, what do you think?
I wouldn't go that far. I thought it was a very, very good episode. I enjoyed the episode a lot. I don't think I would say it was the best episode in years, but I very much enjoyed the episode. And there's definitely some things I want to, we'll talk about.
Ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Swan. Give you your review of the episode.
All right. Well, like I said, just to set it up in case you haven't seen the episode, which if you haven't seen it, go watch it because, like Kevin said at the top of the hour, we're going to spoil the hell out of everything here. But, we got Barry traveling back in time to key points in the franchise, which all the traveling back in time scenes I thought were very, very very, very well done.
Yes.
I enjoyed Ralph Dibny's back in time joke that they borrowed from Teen Titans Go to the Movies. Which, if you haven't seen, by the way, is the best DC movie to be released in a very long time.
I haven't seen it, actually.
Oh, it's fantastic. Really, really fantastic. But I don't know. I'm getting off gear here. Sage, you want to talk about the episode itself here?
Yes, it was a lot of fun. It was the 100th episode of Flash. I did, and I enjoyed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Syndication, woo!
Aren't they happy? So, I think it was a lot of fun to watch them go back in time. Shame on them for breaking rules. They're not supposed to do it, and they did it anyway. And that Nora got to go because that was neat to watch her see all the things that had happened. And she was like, what? So it did help her to understand. And I like that. And she was like, everything that she knows was from the museum. And so this way she got to actually see some of those things that had actually happened, that even though they talked about in the history that she got to see, the episodes unfolded like right before her, and she had a much better viewpoint. So I think that that helped her to understand some things. Cause she's between last week's episode and this week's episode, she's doing a little better as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Go ahead, Swan.
Nora is still my least favorite character on any of these shows. I genuinely
you're aware
that
you're aware that Gary the Time Dweeb exists in this universe, right?
I am aware, and I prefer him to Nora. And
that's saying
now
something.
I'm very curious as to where they're going with this, because they started laying a lot of groundwork that there's going to be some big twist involved with her, complete with possibly even laying the twist that she's not Flash's daughter.
Well, yeah, I mean, how about the fact that she's kind of working with Wells Thawne, which I think is very, very interesting, and I honestly hadn't even thought that she could possibly not be Barry and Iris's daughter. So
yeah, because when they meet in the episode, Eobard mentions the name of Flash's daughter, and it's Dawn, it's not Nora.
Exactly.
From the future. And, they kind of brush past that, and then at the end of the episode, you see that they're working together.
Yeah. Super interesting stuff. Like, I'm very, very fascinated to see what becomes of that. I love any time we dust off Wells Thawne.
Yes,
it's my favorite. I think that Tom Cavanaugh takes this character and just owns it in a way that the guy that plays regular Thawne just doesn't get. And I think he is, like, whenever we see the Reverse Flash from now on, I want it to be Wells Thawne. Mm. I know it can't always be, but that is my Reverse Flash. I love him as a Reverse Flash. I love the concept of the time hack, of planting the device 5 years ago in that pillar so that it's there as a trap for Cicada in the future. It kind of reminded me of, like, Doc Brown burying the DeLorean in 1885 so that Marty can get it in 1955.
I think you were supposed to reminisce on that because, they, with the whole Back in Time, soundtrack that they shoved in there. So they wanted you to know that.
I was glad to see that the Time Wraiths have finally gotten sick of Barry's crap.
Yes, yeah.
Like, we've seen the Time Wraiths go after Zoom, we've seen them go after Thawne, but now finally the Time Wraiths are just like, okay, we've had enough of this Flash. I liked seeing how much Thawne knows, like Wells Thawne knows. He knows about Cicada, he knows about Savitar, he said he had a pizza face and whatnot. I really enjoy seeing Zoom again. That was like when Zoom pops up and he chases Nora and Barry. That was a scary moment. It reminded me how great and scary of a villain Zoom is.
Yeah.
But you know what? I also feel like seeing Thawne and seeing Zoom again, and even seeing Savitar in a way, kind of makes Cicada weaker because we're seeing these awesome villains and Cicada's not that great. I feel like the show is trying to convince us as the audience, along with Nora, that Iris is okay. So,
yeah.
I love the throwback to Wells killing Cisco when he holds his hand up to shake his hand.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very interesting that Nora didn't, like, this is where I'm starting to doubt that she's Barry's kid, because she doesn't know about the death of Nora Allen. Like, how is that even possible? I love that the Cicada's dagger can't stop Killer Frost. I thought the entire, the whole deal with Cicada there, it felt very like, mid-season finale. And then, of course, the big thing at the end with Nora being there with Thawne. I just absolutely love the episode. And folks, we're going to touch on our ratings for this episode when we come back after these words from our sponsors.
Best-selling and award-winning author of true crime and crime fiction, Yvonne Mason is back with a brand new book, The Pink Canary, a book that delves into the life of a drag queen and a marvelous whodunit. You can find this and all of Yvonne's other works on Amazon.com, or find Yvonne Mason on Facebook and Twitter.
He's gonna kill me.
Buy your copy of Pink Canary now.
Hi, I'm Cosplay Michael with the Hangin with Webso, and you're listening to Krypton Radio. And remember, cosplay's for everyone.
Channeling the Mothership is an exciting journey into the higher mysteries. Certified psychic medium and clairvoyant Jerry McDaniel's readings, writings, and messages have been received by thousands of people in more than 45 countries. These messages have been obtained by channeling his higher self. How does he do it? Is it a blessing or a curse? And what lay beyond the reach of your five senses? Channeling the Mothership. Explore the mysteries of the spiritual and the metaphysical. Channeling the Mothership by author Jerry McDaniel. Available on Amazon.com today.
Watchtower is back online.
Welcome back to the Watchtower, folks. So, guys, as I said emphatically, I did really enjoy this episode of The Flash. I gave it a 9 out of 10. So, Swan, what did you think?
Well, before I give my rating, first of all, real quick, we talked about Kevin Smith directing Supergirl.
Yeah.
I do want to give a shout out to Tom Cavanaugh, who directed this episode of The Flash.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, and, I'll tell you what an episode for him to direct, because not only was he directing it, but he was also playing, 3 different characters in the episode as well.
He was Sherlock, he was Harry, and he was Thawne Wells.
Yeah, so he had a lot to do on screen and behind the scenes on this week, and, I thought it was a home run for him as a director.
Yes.
Very
well done.
As far as my rating, like I said, I didn't love it as much as you did, but I did enjoy it a lot. I'm gonna give it an 8. I'll give it an 8, yeah.
That's a fair rating. Sage, what do you got for this one?
That was actually exactly where I was. I was at about an 8 myself.
Okay. Well, again, great showing by The Flash this week. Very, very happy to see, the show pulling me in again the way it used to. So now we're going to talk about Black Lightning for a second, which obviously Swan doesn't watch. As you know, if you've listened to the Watchtower before, so Sage and I are going to discuss it. This isn't going to take very long. Black Lightning, Book of Rebellion, Chapter 1, Exodus. Sage, this show is wretched. I'm sorry. I have to say. I try to be like middle of the road on all of these shows, even when I don't like them. There is nothing redeeming about this show to me. There is not 1 second of this show that I enjoy.
It's difficult. Do you know why I watch Black Lightning? Because we have to talk about it. Yeah.
That's why I watch it.
Otherwise, I wouldn't. I gave it its fair shot, and I have to agree with you. I haven't. Well, that's not true. There's one small storyline that I liked, and I liked it last week, and that was Jen and Khalil.
Well, if you liked that last week, then this week was all for you, because it was all Jen and Khalil.
Yes, but I do have some issues. Do you know what I mean? It's like.
Yeah.
Because, Khalil is a good guy for her, or he can be. But I'll tell you what, Black Lightning, he is not even interested in hearing if that is possible, which seems to me to go against, just his character in general, not just Black Lightning, but as Pierce, as Franklin Pierce.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of abusive parenting going on with Jennifer.
Well, yeah, her sister brings up, you kept her locked away in her room, and you wouldn't listen to her when she tried to talk to you. Lots of teen angst, and they don't see it.
There was a little too much shaky cam in the action sequences. You had those 2 Khalil action sequences in the beginning and the end, and it was just all shaky cam, and I got really dizzy with it for some reason.
I'm so glad it wasn't just me.
Yeah, it was not just you. I think that Khalil, they also kind of hinted at some toxic masculinity there. That he, when he's panicking and he's like, I said no! It feels like Jennifer's just kind of getting toxicity from everywhere in her life at this point. But my problem with the show is there's no real direction to it. What was that whole thing? We took that break for the last 2 weeks to go putz around with those people in the woods with the silver stuff, the Sanjay or whatever the heck they were, the Sanjay Dutts. Sanjay Dutt is a professional wrestler, or was. I don't know.
He is.
He is? Oh, good for Sanjay. Yeah. But there's no direction. I have no idea what's happening in the show anymore. They're starting to have him be Black Lightning more, which is nice, but he's not even really the main focus of the show. It's become the Jen and Anissa show, and I feel like Black Lightning is a secondary character.
Yes, it's like a Jackson Pollock plot. You have no idea where the paint's going to land.
And here's the thing, like when the Flash or Supergirl or Arrow or Legends pop, they pop super fast and the episode moves along to the point where when you get the credits, you're like, oh no, like I can't believe that went by so fast. Every episode of Black Lightning feels like it, to the point where I actually checked to see if they were like doing a Sherlock thing where like the episodes were an hour and a half long. Every episode feels like an eternity.
It truly does. So I'm interested to see if, exactly what they resolve. I know that this was supposed to set everything in motion for the mid-season finale, but I'm not sure exactly what they're supposed to resolve. Aside from, do they find the children?
With this episode, I also, the one funny moment that I noticed, and I think it was unintentionally funny, when she's just like, oh, well, let me cut the tracker out of your neck. And he's like, no, don't do that. Use your powers that you can't control to electrocute it out. I was like, you trust her to do that, but you don't trust her to cut the little tiny thing out of your neck? Like, I don't know.
Well, and who didn't realize what that was when she was like, oh, what is this? And I'm like, I know a tracker when I see one. Somebody's got you chipped. Yeah. Really? Nobody figured that out? So, but no, oh boy, I have to rate this episode.
I mean, I'll tell you right off the bat, I rated it a 0 out of 10. There was not one redeeming moment in this episode for me. It was just a dud. I was
going to go higher than that, and I was going to give it somewhere, maybe a 4.5.
Well, you are much kinder than I am. I need to move on from this show because it's the worst part of my week when I have to watch it. It's like so plotting and horrible. It's a mess. It's just a creative mess. So Swan, let's bring you back in because we're going to Arrow season 7 episode 8 entitled Unmasked. The main thing I'm thinking about here is, so we don't have a real clear big bad for Arrow yet. What do you guys think of the concept that Felicity might end up being the big bad of this season?
Well, the flash forwards into the future, I think that they're setting that up. It does seem that way.
Maybe not for this season, but like for a future season. I think we can get like a thing like with Buffy where Willow was the big bad one season. Like I think that they are slow. I really hope they don't chicken out with this. I really want to see Felicity go full-blown supervillain.
I mean, the thing is that the flash forwards are taking place so far in the future.
Like 20 years, yeah.
And it seems like Felicity's heel turn, is much closer to that. Like,
yeah, which
so
I don't know if
we would
calculator.
Yeah, I don't know if we would see that this season or whatnot. I said this last week and I've said it before on the podcast, but the flash forwards are really aggravating on Arrow because they don't want to seem like they want to commit to them.
Yeah.
Like,
some weeks they're just not there.
Yeah, and it happens a lot more frequently than it probably should, where they're just not there.
Yeah.
I mean, this week's episode honestly kind of felt like filler.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was, they needed to put out something between Oliver gets out of jail and Elseworlds. And so they put this out in its spot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it just kind of, it felt like filler to me.
What do you think about the concept of the Green Arrow working with the police now, completely unmasked?
I mean, I think that's...
I think it's a cool status quo for the show, but I don't think it's permanent.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's doomed to, not last long.
Yeah. I like the idea that this season, like, we're seeing the cast having to try to work within the system. Diggle and Curtis are working with Argus. You've got Dinah and Black Siren working, with the SCPD and the DA's office. And now you've got Oliver working with the SCPD. So I think that's definitely I think it's an interesting take, and I'm fascinated to see where it goes. I mean, is Oliver going to have to, go on a regular beat? Is he collecting a paycheck? Or is he just a deputized volunteer? That's what is he going to be able to operate with autonomy? I mean, I suppose with the fact that he's answering to Dinah, but the new mayor is clearly going to fight this. So I'm very interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm interested too, and I'm also interested to see where things keep going with our new Green Arrow, which is another...
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a second.
Yes.
So the new Green Arrow was a female, and apparently is Robert Queen's daughter.
Amiko Queen.
Miko, was that her name? When did we find that out? Was that in the episode?
I think it was.
Oh, I missed that. But yeah, so Oliver has a sister. We all thought it was William from the future, but apparently not. I mean, Robert Queen, I mean, you know, we all know he was messing around, so.
Yeah, and Miko Queen is a character from the New 52. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is a character that they've drawn from the comic books. I think I gotta go back and rewatch some of these earlier episodes from the season, because I think the whole female thing, I don't know. I think he was pretty clearly a dude earlier in the season.
Yeah, I know. Like it was weird for me as well, but we will definitely see, you know, how that plays out. And I'm very interested to see how it plays out. I guess they're not going to be using time travel after all. You know, before I get into like my big gripe with this episode, I do want to point out one thing with it, and not just with Arrow, with all of these shows. People with that defined musculature and six packs don't eat that much Big Belly burger. Like when they walk in,
Flash can get away with it.
Well, yeah, the Flash can get away with it, but no, like Oliver and Wild Dog, and like they're always eating Big Belly burger. And Felicity, I'm just like, no, that is there's no way. There's no, because they're like, oh, the first thing he had was a double from Big Belly burger, and I was just like, no, he didn't.
He had grilled chicken and steamed broccoli.
Exactly. he ate like that. I called my friend The Rock. Like he called The Rock, and he ate one of The Rock's big chicken meals. Like that was that's a take off of when they asked Hugh Jackman how he got so big for Wolverine. He goes, I called my friend The Rock. He told me to eat 5,000 calories a day. But yeah, so my big thing with this, when Diggle and Lila are walking in the prison at the end, and they walk into that room, and I don't know what I was expecting, but I don't know why I was expecting anything else. When they walk into Diaz's cell, like it's some big reveal, and I'm like, we saw him an episode ago. I need no more Diaz. I need him to go away. I really desperately need no more Diaz.
Well, we were speculating last week if we were done with Diaz.
I really thought we were. I really thought we were done with him. Like they put a final definitive period at the end of that, and I really thought that we were done with it. But I'm so tired of Diaz and his Pacino voice. Oliver Queen. Green Arrow. Like it's like I'm like, do you actually sound like that, or are you trying to do a bad Pacino impersonation? Like, and also I don't need more Felicity relationship drama.
Oh, amen to that.
Like I was just like, really? Like I thought when they got married, like that was them being like, okay, hey, no more relationship. Like I thought they were about to break up.
Yeah,
I thought if they had broken up, I would have screamed, because I'm so done with Felicity. This is everybody.
They were close. You're the love of my life, but here we go.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this last week, and it wasn't addressed this week. I need a clear-cut reason why William is not back.
Yeah, they gave like a real like cut and dry. Like I guess he's like in boarding school or something, because Oliver was just like, oh yeah, can't wait to see William. That Christmas break can't come soon enough, or something like that.
I'd be going to get him.
That little throwaway line.
Yeah,
they can't just be like the kid can't act, so we got rid of it. But we are going to take a quick commercial break and come back talking about this episode, and then touch on DC's Legends of Tomorrow after these words.
From the imagination of author Kevin J Kessler, the Rosinanti dragons are no more. They have fallen into the obscurity of lore. Now warrior Valentine Beret and Seraphina, a magically gifted princess, are on a mission to save the world of Terra. Together they must face the Rosinanti legacy and combat the greatest threat their world has ever known. In the end, who is stronger, the man or the dragon? Find out in Kevin J Kessler's The Rosinanti series on Amazon.com today.
The Hanging with Web Show Radio Hour on Krypton Radio, bringing you the very best in pop culture talk radio. Each Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, the Hanging with Web Show Radio Hour with your hosts G.W. Pomacher and Christian Basil, who are hanging with rising pop culture newcomers as well as superstar icons. The Hanging with Web Show Radio Hour. Tune in Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Who are you hanging with?
And now, back to the Watchtower.
Welcome back to the Watchtower, ladies and gents. We are still wrapping up our discussion of Arrow. Sage, what did you think about this episode overall?
You know, it was okay. I didn't enjoy it as much as last week, obviously.
Last week was great.
Yes, it really was. And I have to agree with Swan. This was kind of like a filler. I'm not sure what we want to do before else worlds get here. So what can we do, to try to go in that direction? So it did seem, there were some things that I enjoyed, from this episode. I think, I didn't like it this week as much as, well, I certainly liked it more than Black Lightning. How about that?
Well, I mean, I like a root canal more than I like Black Lightning some weeks.
Well, I don't know. With a root canal, at least you get decent drugs.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I mean, so I had this listed, like, throughout the episode. I'm like, this is a solid 7.5. And then the Olicity thing happened and I lowered it a half a point. And then the Diaz thing happened and I lowered it a whole point. So, I gave this a 6 out of 10. Swan, what'd you have for this episode?
I think I'm actually going to, match you there. To me, it was just complete filler. There wasn't anything that made me really excited, but there wasn't anything that really annoyed me. 6.
All right, Sage, what'd you have?
I'm at about a 6 myself. Just kind of right in the middle.
Let's move on to what's usually the brightest part of our show, and that is Legends of Tomorrow. Season 4, Episode 7, Hell No, Dolly. As a theater fan, I was a big fan of the name of this episode. And as a fan of puppets, I was a huge fan of this episode. Bringing back the Martin Stein puppet was genius. I love the writing team on Legends of Tomorrow. Sage, let's start with you. What'd you think about this episode?
I always love this episode. I will tell you that Gary, the time dweeb, really, really irritated me in the beginning. With his, it's pirate day. Let's talk like a pirate. No.
Oh my God.
No, please, just don't talk.
I get that it's supposed to be like awkward and painful, but it's not supposed to be that awkward.
No, it was painful for me to watch. I was like, oh, please, just stop. So, but Mona was fun, and I really liked that, that she has, her tender moment for her man, which is totally misconstrued, obviously, by Nate, and so that was a lot of fun to watch. But this was just a fun episode for me.
That's kind of the thing with Legends of Tomorrow. It's always fun. Like, that's kind of, I feel like it's the fun show,
Yes. Although they did tug at all of our heartstrings with Constantine.
Yes, they did.
And it was beautiful.
Go ahead, Sage. Sorry.
No, that's it. It was just beautiful.
Yeah, Swan, what did you have to say about this episode?
Okay, a couple things. You know how I said that Nora is my least favorite character in the entire Arrowverse?
Yes.
And that's true. I'm not walking back on that.
Okay.
But Mona is fastly approaching that territory.
So and Mona, in my notes, I have a thing about Mona where I was just like, this is a thing that nobody wanted or needed.
Yeah, I don't understand why Gary the Time Dweeb, who is already a character that I think most people could live without.
Yes.
Is now getting his own supporting characters.
Not only that, but like the one redeeming quality of Gary the Time Dweeb was that he was like gay representation.
Yes.
And now, like, I mean, I'm glad there's bisexual representation as well, don't get me wrong. But like, I was just like, it just feels like she is only there to be a love interest for Gary the Time Dweeb, and I'm like, this is not the thing that the viewers of this show were clamoring for.
No.
You know what we need? You know what we need? We need a love interest for Gary the Time Dweeb.
Yeah, and the whole thing with her and the Samoan Wolfman and
it's so weird, isn't it? Like, it borders on bestiality, right? Like, I'm not
yes.
alone in that.
No, you're not alone. And I just don't, like, every time she came on screen, every time I was like, there are 6 other characters who I would much rather this time be dedicated to.
Yeah.
Legends already has the biggest cast out of all these shows, and to add more cast members, it to me is just, it's doing the show a disservice. And like, you know, Gary's a comic relief character, Mona's a comic relief character, but you know, there's plenty of other funny characters on the show that I feel like could be developed more with the time that they're giving to these people.
With a show that is severely underutilizing Mick Rory, like, who is already the best comic relief this show could have.
Yes.
Like, Mick and Ray are the comic relief of the show. They don't need, like, if I wish, like, I could take all of this Time Bureau stuff with Nate and Gary the Time Dweeb and Mona and just make it its own spin-off show that I won't watch. Like, I feel like this is like George Lucas's like insistence about Jar Jar Binks. You know, like, no, you will like this. And it almost felt like they were closing the chapter on this last week when like Nate kind of like left the ship again. And I was like, okay, maybe we won't spend so much time there anymore. And no, we do. And it kills me every time I want to get to something like decent, like the things that I care about in this show. I am invariably sidetracked to this Nate, Gary the Time Dweeb, and now Mona. Like because she knew what I know what a werewolf is. Can I get a job at the Time Bureau too? Like there was no explanation too as to how she knows all this stuff.
They had the perfect opportunity to have her go away when she was wounded. I was like, maybe.
Right, and you know what? It's like she walks in off the street and suddenly she's Newt frickin' Scamander.
Yeah. Oh my god, I got so many Newt vibes in last night's episode.
I feel like somebody's like, hey, you know what's a really popular thing, kind of? Fantastic Beasts right now. So why don't we have our own Newt Scamander? We make her an Asian girl, and that'll be great. It'll be fun. But no, and then somebody else in the corner, Warner Brothers executive, was like, what if she wants to bang the werewolf?
Yeah. What if Newt wanted to bang the Fantastic Beasts?
Right, like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Bang Them. Like that's the Mona show.
Nice.
I don't need it. The Constantine stuff this week was super compelling. I love all the stuff about Neron, and clearly Neron's coming back, and he's coming back in the body of Des.
Yes, yeah.
The LGBT representation off the charts this week. Fantastic. Loved every second of it. The idea of Constantine being in love with somebody, I think, really kind of took everybody by surprise.
Yes, Mr. Yeah. I will never know. Oh, but I did. Sorry about that.
Yep. I love that Ava is a true crime fanatic.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a great little character. And listen, as much as I hate the Time Bureau stuff, I like Ava. And I like that Ava is kind of like becoming a regular member of the team as opposed to like whatever stupid shenanigans are going on at the Time Bureau.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to make this perfectly clear. I do not condone a man ever hitting a woman. But, that said, if Mick had slapped her across the face, I would have understood.
Oh,
because I feel like she kind of crossed the line in this episode.
Yeah, because she's starting to try to police the legends, and that's not her job.
Yes. And she took away Mick's weird World of Warcraft girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. The 3 breasts. Which last week, that was one of my favorite things last week, when all of a sudden you just see this, like, character burst on, and you know exactly where it came from.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of humor that I love in this show. Not the Gary the Time Dweeb stuff, or the Nate stuff, but like, I love it. I love and I think Charlie has been, I like Charlie more than I like Damaya.
Yeah, I would actually agree with you there.
I think she's fantastic. I absolutely love everything to do with her.
Her transformation effects this week were freaky.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
When she was trying to transform into Constantine but couldn't quite hold it. and her face kept deforming.
Let's talk about the Dybbuk for a second before we have to close out. Now, I have heard of Dybbuk's before, but I heard about it on Rugrats as a child. In the Halloween special. Remember the episode where they're up with Tommy's other grandparents and he's like, he was a Dybbuk. If they don't know what a Dybbuk is, a monster. And so I was like, a Dybbuk. But making it a puppet. Mm-hmm. Not only a puppet, the Martin Stein puppet that we remember that Leo Snart was using as like a counseling tool for the Legends after the last crossover.
Oh, he was fantastic. And what a mouth on him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that character was just great. I mean, it was very Chucky, but I think it was supposed to be. And I like how Legends is kind of like completely unapologetic about ripping things off.
Oh, yeah, and they call themselves out on it.
Yeah,
before
totally.
Anybody else can, too.
Totally. They're like, yeah, it's like Chucky. And they said it a bunch of times. Whereas, shows like Doctor Who, I feel like, are ripping things off this season and not calling themselves out on it, like the weird space stitch that they have. So I gave this episode of Legends 7.5 out of 10. Swan, what'd you give it?
I'm gonna go a little bit. I'm gonna go with a 7, just because I feel like Mona's existence annoys me a little bit more than it does you guys.
Right.
But outside of that, I thought it was a pretty solid episode. I was happy with it.
Sage, what are you giving it out of 10?
I would put it up there. We'll say a 7.5 because Constantine actually he pulled the whole episode for me.
He did. Mm-hmm. He did. Now, so here's what I like to do at the end of the show. I like to talk about who had the best week and who is having the best season overall. So we don't really have to go into detail on it. But Swan, who had the best week and who is having the best season overall thus far?
I think Flash had the best week. And I think that, God, it's rough. I think Arrow's been having a very good season, but now that the prison thing is done and they're going to be making a very sharp turn into a new direction, I could see it possibly falling off of a cliff. But I think Arrow has been doing a really good job this season.
Sage, what about you?
Well, I have to agree about The Flash for this week. I think that one knocked it out of the ballpark for all of them. But of course, I will go back to my favorite, and I think The Legends has had the best season so far this time.
Yeah, I am also going to pretty much echo Sage here. I think that Flash had the best episode by far, but I think Legends has been consistently killing it all season. Well, that is going to do it for the Watchtower this week. Thank you very much to my special guests here, Dave Swan from the UWA Elite and Sage here from the Hangin Web Show. Love having you guys on all the time, and thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Swan, thank you. And Swan, where can people go to find the UWA Elite?
You can go to UWAElite.com, or you can search UWA Elite on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Fantastic. And you can find it pretty much everywhere.
And Sage, where can people go to find out more about the Hangin Web Show?
You can go to hanginwithshow.com. That's HANGIN with show.com, and do the same search on Facebook, and you'll find us.
Fantastic. And for me, folks, for my books, the Rosinanti series, which you heard a commercial for earlier in the show, please check out my Facebook page, facebook.com/Kevin J Kessler author. Follow me on Twitter @Kevin J Kessler. You can find all my books on Amazon. And please check out my Disney show, Two Men and the Mouse, a Walt Disney World podcast of the White Dragon Podcast Network. So thank you guys so much for being here. And thank you, everyone who's listening. We will see you guys next week when we will be talking about all of the fantastic crossover action from Elseworlds. Watchtower logging out.
Watchtower is offline.